Hey, my name is Doug Spencer. I'm the co-CEO of Bold Exchange, the most convenient way to buy Black online. And you are watching Bold Business Time. This is a partnership between Bold Exchange and Max Out Time. Bold Exchange is a sponsor of Max Out Time. And because it's August and it's Black Business Month, we are doing a special feature all month. And so subscribe in the link below. You can get this episode and many more. And so today I have Alfred Jackson. We're going to be talking about the VC world, particularly and how Black business relates there. So Alfred, thank you so much for joining me here today.
No problem, Doug. Happy to be on this podcast with you, man.
Of course. I mean, you're my guy, so I feel like I don't give you enough credit and know how much your experience can affect so many others. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and the VC world that you are well within.
Grew up in the Charlotte, North Carolina area, but pretty much my whole career has really been devoted to working with entrepreneurs, whether it was back home in Charlotte, working at Clean City FinTech, to moving to St. Louis, working at Arch Grants, writing $50,000 checks into 20 companies a year, to now leading the accelerator at Lightship Capital in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're going to be writing $250,000 checks into 15 Black entrepreneurs in Tulsa. So looking forward to getting that going and investing in those entrepreneurs.
So basically, you like writing checks and you writing bigger checks. So the next check's gonna be what, $1 million?
That's the hope. That's the hope, man.
Okay, I'm gonna keep you. I'm glad we got this podcast. When I need a check, I know who to come to. But no, so clearly you are in the thick of it, just going through and helping entrepreneurs grow. Talk to me a little bit about what Lightship is doing. You gave us a little bit, but what is your role specifically with Accelerator? How do you take those checks and dole them out to 15? That's not that many, but I'm sure it's competitive to get them. And what does it look like to be an entrepreneur supported by Lightship?
Sure thing. So Lightship is actually a venture capital firm that's headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio. They're a Midwest-focused fund that's focused on investing in Black women and LGBTQ entrepreneurs. They've been around for a few years now, but they just launched their Tulsa Accelerator, which will be pretty much focused around CPG, consumer products, e-commerce businesses, artificial intelligence businesses, and we'll be writing $250,000 checks into these pre-seed companies. So, not only are we doing these, writing these checks, but we'll also be doing boot camps. We'll be bringing in already established companies that are just kind of looking to have a weekend of educational content to figure out, how do they take their business to the next stage, or just like kind of working with other entrepreneurs on particular problems. We'll also be doing things like Workflow Wednesdays, where we're just going to have pizza and beer and inviting folks that have a full-time job, but maybe working on a side project in the evening, and just creating a space for them to connect with other like-minded entrepreneurs that don't have a business that they can be full-time on yet, but have a passion project, and they want to be around other people that are trying to take their idea into reality. And then, we have the accelerator that's going to be launching actually now. So we're accepting applications, and we'll hopefully be writing, those first couple of checks in the next few months.
Okay, man, you're gonna get to use that pen, huh? You probably got a fountain pen or something that you write those. But no, that's amazing. And I think especially with it being Black Business Month and what Bold Exchange and Max Out Time is trying to do here with highlighting people like you, a lot of people don't get it, how big of a problem or challenge it is for underserved entrepreneurs. So I like to hear that you're focusing on Black women and other groups. But we know it's often talked about how Black women are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs. But when you look at venture capital funding, them and Black men get less than 2%. So what you're talking about, writing the checks and creating an ecosystem, you're making a difference. But what would be your call to others in the space to really match that energy that you all are bringing? And how can we make a difference in that equity gap that we have?
Yeah, so I think a lot of investors, they pattern match, right? So they know that they went to some great school, and they feel like, all right, I went to this great school. I know that our people are coming from this great school. I'll invest in those people. And they have the other great schools they look at and they say, all right, I'm investing in people from those schools as well. Or they have certain walks of life, or they worked at certain companies, and they feel like, all right, if you have these certain qualifications or these certain things in your resume, that makes you a great entrepreneur to invest in. I think the way that you see more Black founders, women founders getting checks is, one, diversifying the people that those folks hang around. So if you're an investor that finds yourself being very homogeneous in what you invest in, maybe it's time to kind of mix up your friend group and mix up the events you're going to and mix up the type of entrepreneurship groups you're a part of to make sure that you're getting a holistic view on different entrepreneurs. But then also, I think, hiring diverse talent as well for these different firms. I imagine if you hire junior investors, I imagine those junior investors that are Black, Hispanic, LGBTQ, they know founders that, that are just like them. So I think not only it's one, hiring people, but it's also making sure that the people that are already out there and have these established jobs, that they're diversifying the people that they're around and the people that they're working with, whether it be on their own teams or, where they socialize.
Right. It's holistic, just like you were talking about with the ecosystem you're building. I think perspective is so huge. And I think something else you said that is coming to mind for me is like pattern matching, right? When you think of VC, usually we think of Silicon Valley, we might think of New York or a certain place on the East Coast. Why is it so important that a place like Tulsa is a part of that change making, energy that you're talking about?
Mhm.
What difference does Tulsa make?
Well, I think first and foremost, we have to understand that a great business can be built wherever you're at, whether it's in St. Louis, Missouri, where you're at. Like one of the first Black billionaires in the United States is a man, David Stewart, who built his company with no investment in St. Louis, Missouri. You look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, about how Black wealth was built in this city before, of course, the massacre or race riot, whatever you want to call it, where they uh, ripped away over millions and millions of dollars worth of wealth, land, whether it was wealth, land, people, killed a whole bunch of people. Like you pretty much ruined a whole generation. But if you fast forward today, you can still see that you can still build great companies in these smaller markets. Like you may not realize this, but Quick Trip, one of like the biggest companies in the U.S., is born and bred here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I think while yes, VC or people may think, oh, like you have to go to these big markets to build big businesses, what we don't realize is some of the largest companies that we see every day are built in these small to medium-sized markets, whether it's Quick Trip, whether it's Worldwide Technologies in St. Louis, Missouri, or even Walmart, which is like, built an hour and a half away in Bentonville, Arkansas. I think I'm saying the right term, but the right name. But yeah, like you can build a great business anywhere. So why not be somewhere where you feel like, like, hey, I may not be interested in being in those markets, but I like small town folk, and I still think small town folk can do great things.
Man, I gotta tell you, you're wise beyond your years, man. I feel like so much wisdom is coming out of you right now. You said so many great things there. Like even talking about St. Louis, I didn't know about David Stewart, and now I've learned so much about him. But it's like you don't think about those off the beaten path places. But I want to stick with Tulsa because, like you said, it can be built anywhere. But I think, like you said, because of the history of Tulsa, there's some unique angles there.
Mm-hmm.
And we're now past the 100-year mark of the Tulsa Massacre. I think if people didn't know about it, they know about it now. How do we use that energy and waking us up about what happened in Tulsa and then how they relates to Black business to then catapult Black businesses moving forward after 100 years has now passed?
Right, right. So, I mean, I think if you look at what happened here in Tulsa, 1921, you saw Tulsa was one of the beacons for Black entrepreneurship and Black wealth, right? There were multiple doctors' offices, small businesses, like, pretty much Tulsa built its own really awesome ecosystem here of Black entrepreneurship. And all it took was one evening of racism to completely wipe that away. And then you look at that happens in a lot of cities that we see around us. So, what's interesting about Tulsa is now 100 years later, we have George Kaiser Family Foundation. I was really trying to figure out, okay, how do we improve the life of everyday Tulsans? And in particular, how do we right the wrong, which you really can't ever fully right that wrong, but how do we right the wrong of what happened here, and make sure that we showcase that, hey, you know, you can tear something down, but you can also build it back up and make it even stronger. So today, the George Kaiser Family Foundation, they launched an initiative called Build in Tulsa, which aims to be a $200 million nonprofit that is really kind of building its own Black Sand Hill Road here in Tulsa. So Build in Tulsa has brought in Lightship Capital, to build the accelerator that I'm running with Brian and Candace and Alexis and my teammates at Lightship. We've also brought in a program called Act House that's writing $70,000 equity-free investments into Black founders here. They're also bringing in Techstars is coming in town pretty soon. You also have other different initiatives like Tulsa Remote, Atento Capital, which is our main kind of early stage fund here. All these different things are focused particularly on Black folks, Black entrepreneurs, and really trying to rebuild this district. So our goal is to be a part of it where we're writing these 15 checks over 3 years. Think about it, 15 of those checks, if 3 of those companies end up becoming really big, ideally that means that we can create 200, 300 jobs here. Black people can become wealthy, create that wealth creation, and then hopefully it's an exit opportunity, down the line, and we have a whole new generation of Black angel investors and potential new venture capitalists and potential new entrepreneurs. So this is kind of like just the first step in what's going to take another 10 to 15 to 20 years to rebuild, but it's really cool to be in the front of that.
Yeah, I think it's hard to be patient in that way, to be disciplined, because we're talking about wealth. It's not income. It takes time.
Right.
You drop so many nuggets there, and this is exactly why anybody watching has to subscribe. There will be a link below. We will get you all the information you need about all the gems that Alfred is dropping. You're listening and watching Max Out Time with Bold Exchange. Don't forget that. But now, because you gave me so many things, and I'm trying to listen, I'm not writing anything down like someone watching might. If you could tell a Black entrepreneur, man or woman, team, anything about getting into VC or connecting with VCs, what would that piece of advice be?
One, it can sometimes take a really, really long time to do it. But if you always have a mindset of how do you create value for other people, you'll get to where you want to go to. So I am not an entrepreneur, but I try my best to be empathetic to entrepreneurs and be somebody that's serviceable to entrepreneurs, or what I like to try to call myself a leverageable asset for entrepreneurs. So a lot of that is, all right, if you're raising capital, how can I, if you don't already have a built-in network of people to pitch to, how can I be someone that's well networked that can, provide intros for entrepreneurs so they can raise capital from these folks and, just kind of act as like a Chris Paul assist type of guy. Or if you're, trying to get into different programs, how can I, be helpful around thinking through your application or just providing some type of advice or guidance around like, all right, here's how you kind of pitch your business. Here's how you can like talk about your business model in like a way that's easily digestible to people. Or if you're somebody that's trying to, bring on some new hires or bring on business development or leverage some, data, like, all these different things at the early stages are really helpful for entrepreneurs. So if you're always kind of putting yourself as someone that can be of value to the entrepreneur, I think over time, you then start having entrepreneurs that vouch for you in the space, and it's really small. So if you can have a 3-4 year record in this space, I think I can have at least on my end, I know there's at least 25, 30 entrepreneurs that I work with that'll speak at least somewhat highly of me because I was always someone that was trying to provide value and not really ask for much in return. So for anybody that's interested in doing VC, I would say one, get involved in your local entrepreneurial community. Like I'm sure there's probably an accelerator or some type of entrepreneur support organization that is looking for volunteers or looking for people that is interested in working there, and that you start there. Or, if you're somebody that's working in a corporate setting, if you're in investment banking or you're in consulting or whatnot, you probably have access to investors that you just work with in your daily work. So figure out what those investors are looking to invest in, and then find entrepreneurs you think are really interesting, and then send those entrepreneurs to those investors. So then you kind of have this two-way entry point into what you want to do. The entrepreneurs speak highly of you, and then these investors can speak highly of you because you brought interesting deals to the table for them. And if you do that over time, you'll get what you want. It just takes some time. It took me almost 3-4 years to do it, but I just kind of stayed steadfast because I knew that's what I wanted to do with my life.
I mean, you've given me so much good insight here and that we can share on Max Out Time. And this is just a final question. You've been living it out, or at least speaking it out to me. Just last thing is, why is this so important to you? What's the most exciting thing about what you do, and what I guess really gets you up every day to do what that's founder support, like you said?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up, my dad's a pastor. I never was interested in being a pastor, but I always understood the importance of giving first and being of service to others. I think being of service to people that are trying to turn their ideas into reality is a really dope thing to be a part of. So if I can be somebody that's helping people turn their ideas into reality and make that thing go, that's really gratifying to me. So it's fun. Like it's just a really fun process. I get to meet really interesting, curious people, make some amazing friends like you and Danielle. Uh, it's I get to do exactly what I love every single day. So it's not really hard to wake up to do it because I've done it for like nothing. I've done it for minimal salary, and now I'm doing it for pretty good pay. So I can't complain too much. So I would do it all over again and do it for free if somebody asked me to do it. So I just love it. I love being of service to others. I think business is one of the greatest forms of service as well, because you are providing something to people that want it. So business itself is serviceable. So if you can be serviceable to serviceable people, it's a cool job to have.
Yep. Getting checks and writing checks. Like, what
For
can it,
sure.
can't get any better than that. I said that was my last question. This is the final question. How can people reach you?
Yeah, so if you're interested in what we're doing here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you can check out our website, lightship.foundation. If you're interested in talking to me one-on-one, you can follow me on Twitter at Alfie, Alfy Jackson, and you can reach me by email at Alfred@lightship.foundation. Please don't send me any Facebook requests because I'll be weird, but yeah, you can reach me by Twitter, by email. You can check out more about what we're doing on our website.
That's it. Well, thank you, Alfred, for being here with me today. And thank you all for watching Bold Business Time. This is a Max Out Time podcast in partnership with Bold Exchange. So subscribe to the podcast below, but also like on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. There will be a lot of great content throughout this month. This is Black Business Month in August, and so we have a lot of great content coming to you. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Bold Business Time.